When you think about the weather in various parts of the globe, there are some phrases that you just don't hear very often. For example, Siberian heat or Saharan flooding. Here's another, Canadian hurricane. Now that one I heard last week, as Igor provided a once-in-a-lifetime wallop to the province of Newfoundland. After muddling along as a tropical storm for a couple days, Igor quickly got its act together on September 12th, rapidly intensifying in just 36 hours far out in the Atlantic to a Category 4 hurricane with 150-mile-per-hour winds. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station took this amazing photograph of Igor's eye when it was near maximum strength, an image that, in my opinion, is one of the most spectacular hurricane images ever taken from space. Igor was a Category 1 hurricane when it brushed Bermuda on September 19th, bringing massive beach erosion and power outages to about 80% of the island. Next stop was Newfoundland, one of the Atlantic provinces of Canada, along with Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. Now, the island part of Newfoundland sits at about 50 degrees north latitude, with the capital of St. John's on the southeastern coast. Igor had weakened to a Category 1 hurricane when it got there, but still produced 85-mile-per-hour winds in St. John's and a minimum pressure of 958 millibars. That's 28.3 inches of mercury, almost off the scale on most home barometers. The peak gust on the island was 107 miles per hour, and St. Lawrence picked up its greatest one-day rainfall on record, 9.37 inches. Meanwhile, about 100 miles to the south, over the Grand Banks, the average height of the largest waves reached almost 40 feet. Initial damage estimates in Newfoundland top $100 million, making it the most expensive tropical cyclone in the province's history. Igor's floodwaters swept away bridges and even washed out part of the Trans-Canada Highway, Canada's coast-to-coast national highway, isolating southeastern Newfoundland from the rest of the province for 2 days. Igor was the worst tropical system to strike Canada since 2003, when Hurricane Juan devastated Nova Scotia with 100-mile-per-hour sustained winds and caused $300 million worth of damage. Now, while it's unusual for a full-fledged hurricane to affect Newfoundland, it's not that uncommon for hurricanes to get as far north as Newfoundland. In fact, at least 40 have done so in the past century, the last being Fabian in 2003. The record for farthest north is held by a little-known hurricane named Faith in 1966, which followed a relatively warm offshoot of the Gulf Stream and stayed a hurricane all the way to latitude 61 degrees north, bringing 100-mile-per-hour winds to the tiny Faroe Islands, which are southeast of Iceland. Faith was a hurricane for 6,850 miles, the longest track of any Atlantic hurricane on record. And we're now up to 14 named tropical cyclones this year, with the rain on the way tonight and tomorrow part of a moisture pipeline, at least partly connected to Tropical Storm Nicole. Fred is back to look even further out in time in the extended forecast next.